What? Look at BigXthaPlug on my metal glasses. Man, they tripping, bro.
When the shots go off, but like, look, you see him drop right there, boom.
Oh yeah, God.
Look,
That's Z right there on the moon.
He done. And then look, they shooting.
I think it's pretty shy. He's there.
And look, I pop out over here. And I'm like, oh shit.
Oh, that's bro body right there. Oh, God.
A rising Dallas rapper just passed away. After fighting for his life for 4 days, Zeethewizard lost his battle on Monday afternoon.
Just minutes ago, we learned the rising Dallas rapper known as Zeethewizard has died. He was among 5 people injured in a shooting in the early morning hours of New Year's Day. It happened at Pink House, Dallas, right off Stemmons Freeway after police say some sort of altercation broke out.
On January 5th, Dallas police confirmed that 25-year-old Zec'Quire Cannon Grant Fields passed away from his injuries. This is the same artist who was just signed to Future Freebandz in August 2025.
Yeah, he was actually signed to one of the biggest artists in the world, Future. So, you know, yeah, he was definitely making a lot of noise. And I think he was doing it right, taking his time to build up his base instead of jumping out too early. But he definitely had the keys to be a super mega artist.
Had been named one of Dallas's top 25 rappers to watch and was performing at the grand opening of a new club when everything went wrong.
Happy New Year, man.
This situation involves Zeethewizard, real name Zec'Quire Cannon Grant Fields, a 25-year-old Oak Cliff rapper who was part of the new Dallas movement. He was celebrating New Year's at Pink House, Dallas, a new after-hours venue that was having its grand opening. 5 people got hurt that night. Z was among them, and he was the one in critical condition.
This young guy was upbeat, full of life, young. Everybody had something good to say about him. You know, you usually hear that when somebody passed away, but I literally heard this when this young man was alive. And man, listen, man, people predicting this guy to be the biggest guy in Dallas, soon to come.
Here's what actually went down. Let me break down the incident, the investigation, the 4 days he fought for his life, and what this means for the Dallas hip-hop community. Zec'Quire Cannon Grant Fields, known as Zeethewizard, was a 25-year-old rapper from Oak Cliff who had become one of the rising stars in Dallas hip-hop. According to the Dallas Observer and WFAA, Z didn't start his music career until late 2024. In just over a year, he went from starting out to signing with one of the biggest labels in hip-hop. During summer 2025, the Dallas Observer named him one of the top 20 rappers to watch in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Bryson Boom. Paul called him a top prospect in the new Dallas movement. Z released 4 albums and 5 singles since starting his career. His top track had pulled in 87,592 streams on Spotify. Songs like Boss and 4 for 4 were getting real traction in Texas. He collaborated with local artists including Zillionaire Doe, Young Don, and Timothy Chung. The new Dallas movement was central to who Z was as an artist.
If you're in Dallas, you pretty much know about Zeethewizard, the new Dallas movement. I've reached out to a lot of people, and he was like one of the few that actually responded. And so yeah, we had a business relationship. We got to do a song together that he really liked. You know, he was all for it, and he just showed me so much appreciation. But I know him from being on a local Dallas artist scene, and him, you know, kind of being one of the prominent figures in the Dallas rap scene.
Started in 2023, New Dallas is a collective of friends who advocate for peace and unity within the Dallas-Fort Worth rap scene. They're trying to move past the neighborhood conflicts and rivalries that hurt the Dallas scene for years. Z was a visible part of that movement. In August 2025, just 5 months before the incident, he signed with Freebandz. That's Future's record label, operating under Sony Music Entertainment. For a Dallas artist who just started making music in 2024, getting signed to Freebandz was massive. According to the Dallas Observer, Future, Herbo, and Rod Wave all supported his music publicly. That's not normal for someone who just started rapping a year earlier. In a recent interview, Z talked about his upbringing.
At a young age, it was kind of hard. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't never had my daddy around either. So at a young age, it was just me, my mama, and my 2 sisters. You know what I'm saying? I had to become the man of the house real young. You know what I'm saying? Had to really realize a lot of shit and just
take in a lot of shit and just cope with it. You know what I'm saying?
According to Hip Hop Wired, he said it was hard growing up. He never had his father around, and at a young age, it was just him, his mother, and his two sisters. He had to become the man of the house. On the early morning of January 1st, 2026, Dallas police responded to a reported incident at Pink House, Dallas. The call came in around 3:45 a.m., according to WFAA.
On New Year's Day, around 3:45 a.m., Dallas police were called to an after-hours club on Empire Central. It was the grand opening of Pink House Dallas, formerly Safari Dallas and V-Live Dallas. Investigators found multiple people shot, sending 5 to the hospital. A family tells WFAA Zec'Quire Cannon was one of the victims.
The location was near Empire Central and North Stemmons Freeway in northwest Dallas. This wasn't just any night. It was New Year's, and Pink House Dallas was having its grand opening. Pink House Dallas is an after-hours venue that opened at the former site of clubs like Safari Dallas and V-Live Dallas. The club had promoted the grand opening heavily on their Instagram, with doors opening at midnight to ring in 2026. According to the club's social media and family members who spoke to WFAA, Zeethewizard was booked to perform as part of the grand opening celebration. He took the stage shortly before midnight. His family members were there watching him perform. After they left the venue, Z stayed behind to continue celebrating with friends and fellow artists. One of the artists Z was with that night was BigXthaPlug. According to Hot New Hip Hop and All Hip Hop, Z and BigXthaPlug were close collaborators. Both were part of the Dallas scene, and they were hanging out together that night after the performance. According to Dallas police statements reported by multiple outlets, an altercation broke out in the parking lot around 4 a.m. Authorities arrived to find 5 people who had been hurt.
Now, police tell us initially that 5 people were shot during some sort of altercation outside the Pink House Dallas on Empire Central near Stemmons Freeway. Now, Fields was taken to a local hospital, and just as of yesterday was reported that he did pass away. Now, as for police, they say this is an ongoing investigation, and so far they have not released any suspect information in this.
When police arrived at the scene around 3:45 a.m., 5 victims had already been transported to local hospitals by Dallas Fire Rescue. One victim was listed in critical condition. Family members later confirmed to WFAA that the person in critical condition was Zeethewizard. Sources told WFAA that Z had been struck multiple times. According to Hip Hop Wired, a video surfaced showing BigXthaPlug exiting the venue in a frantic state.
Boy, look at BigXthaPlug on my metal glasses. Man, they tripping, bro.
Pink House Dallas released a statement on their Instagram stories shortly after the incident. According to WFAA, the club's management said they were fully cooperating with law enforcement. The club asked for thoughts and prayers for the victims. Dallas police stated that the investigation was ongoing. As of the initial reports on January 1st, no arrests had been announced. Z was immediately rushed to a local North Texas hospital. Family members confirmed to WFAA that he was placed in critical condition upon arrival. He was put on life support as doctors worked to treat his injuries. The Dallas Police Department took extra measures after Z arrived at the hospital. According to WFAA and All Hip Hop, police increased security around the hospital where Z was receiving treatment. Hospital officials were allowing only immediate family members to visit. The hip hop community went into shock when the news broke. Social media exploded with reactions on January 1st, but almost immediately there was confusion. Rumors started spreading that Z had already passed away. By January 2nd, the situation on social media had gotten out of control. Family members had to step in and make public statements. According to WFAA, Z's relatives posted on Facebook and Instagram asking the public to stop speculating about his condition. They emphasized that Z was alive and still fighting. Some of Z's peers shut down the rumors directly. Montana 700, one of Z's friends, posted on his Instagram story on January 2nd addressing the false reports. According to Hot New Hip Hop, Montana said there had been misinformation floating around, and as of that moment, Z was still fighting. The false reports hitting social media before any official confirmation created chaos. Fans were leaving rest-in-peace comments on Z's old Instagram posts. The family had to deal with not just the trauma of what happened, but also correcting misinformation while their loved one was in critical condition. Torrance Burnett, a Dallas attorney and music executive, spoke about the situation. According to reporting, Burnett said Z was incredibly talented and had a way with words that impacted people. Future and the Freebandz labels stayed quiet publicly. As of early January, there had been no public statement from Future or anyone officially representing Freebandz about what happened to their newly signed artist. For 4 days, Z fought for his life. His family stayed by his side at the hospital. The Dallas police maintained security around the facility. The investigation continued with no arrests announced, and the Dallas hip-hop community waited, hoping for good news. Family members told WFAA throughout those 4 days that they were staying positive and optimistic about Z's recovery. They asked for continued prayers and privacy. On Monday, January 5th, 2026, the news everyone had been dreading came through. Dallas police confirmed that Zec'Quire Cannon Grant Fields had passed away from his injuries. According to WFAA, CBS Texas, and the Dallas News, Z had fought for 4 days, but ultimately didn't make it. The Dallas Police Department released the confirmation through official channels. Multiple news outlets received the update simultaneously on Monday afternoon. Z was 25 years old. The conditions of the other 4 victims from the incident have not been publicly released by authorities. As of January 5th, no arrests had been announced in connection with the incident. Dallas police stated that the investigation remains active and ongoing. Z's sister, Zec'Quire Cannon, posted a tribute on Instagram after the news was confirmed. According to the Dallas News, she wrote that Z was more than an artist, calling him a light. She said he consistently encouraged people to stay positive, keep going, and choose hope even when life gets heavy. Other tributes started flowing in from the Dallas hip-hop community. Zillionaire Doe, a new Dallas rapper who worked with Z, posted on his Instagram story. According to the Dallas News, he wrote that he thought Z had it, referring to hope for recovery. He said they'd meet again and see each other on the other side. Amir, someone close to Z, posted about their recent conversations. According to the Dallas News, Amir said they had just been on the phone discussing the rollout for Z's music. Amir wrote that he couldn't stop crying and wished it was all a dream. The Dallas hip-hop community went from hoping for a recovery to mourning a loss. The family announced through various outlets that funeral arrangements were pending. But here's what most people missed in all the headlines about his passing. Zeethewizard's story represents something bigger than one person or one incident. He was part of a movement specifically trying to change the culture. The New Dallas Collective exists because too many Dallas artists and community members got hurt or lost over the years in conflicts and situations. Z was trying to be part of the solution, promoting unity and positivity through music. The fact that this happened at a grand opening raises questions about security and preparation. Pink House Dallas was launching a new venue with a high-profile event on one of the biggest nights of the year. But something went wrong in that parking lot that the security measures in place couldn't prevent. What makes this particularly heavy is how fast Z's career was moving. He didn't start rapping until late 2024. Within a year, he had multiple albums, a Freebandz deal, cosigns from major artists, and recognition as one of Dallas's top prospects. The timing of this happening just 5 months after signing to Freebandz makes it even more difficult to process. Dallas hip-hop has lost too many artists too young. MO3 passed away in 2020. The New Dallas movement exists specifically to try to break that cycle. Z was a visible part of that effort. Having him lost in an incident at a New Year's celebration feels like a setback for everything the movement represents. The investigation into what happened remains active. Dallas police haven't released suspect information or details about what caused the altercation. 5 people got hurt that night, and one of them lost his life. For Z's family, the loss is immeasurable. His sister's words about him being a light and encouraging people to stay positive show who he was beyond the music. So that's where we're at with this whole situation. As of January 5th, 2026, Zeethewizard has passed away after fighting for 4 days. He was 25 years old. His family is planning funeral arrangements with details to be announced soon. The Dallas hip-hop community is mourning the loss of one of its rising stars. The investigation into what happened remains ongoing. Dallas police have not announced any arrests. 4 other victims from that night have not been publicly identified, and their conditions have not been disclosed by authorities. Future and Freebandz continue to stay silent publicly. There's been no official statement from the label about losing their newly signed artist. The New Dallas movement faces a difficult moment. They lost one of their members in an incident that represents exactly what they've been trying to move past. Keep your eyes on several things moving forward. First, whether Dallas police make any arrests or release additional information about what happened. Second, watch how the Dallas hip-hop community processes this loss and whether it affects how artists move and where they perform. Third, the impact on after-hours venues and grand opening events in Dallas. Fourth, how Future and Freebandz respond once they do speak publicly. Z was their artist. They signed him in August 2025. 5 months later, he's gone. This highlights ongoing challenges with after-hours venues and late-night celebrations. The incident happened at 4 a.m. during a grand opening with a packed crowd. Multiple artists were there. Security was present. But something happened in that parking lot that couldn't be prevented or stopped in time. What makes this case particularly heavy is knowing what Z could have become. He had the talent, the work ethic, the cosigns, the label backing, and the community support. In another timeline, 2026 would have been the year Z broke through nationally with Freebandz behind him. The hip-hop community has seen this situation too many times. Young artists with talent and potential getting lost before they can fully realize what they're capable of. For artists coming up in Dallas watching this situation, the message is complicated. Z showed what's possible when you have talent and work hard. He went from starting his career to signing with Freebandz in just over a year. On the other hand, his story shows how quickly everything can be taken away. The investigation continues with no public updates about suspects or motives. Dallas police are working the case, but solving what happened in a parking lot at 4 a.m. with a large crowd present is never simple. For Z's family, the investigation matters, but doesn't change the reality of their loss. They're planning a funeral for their 25-year-old son, brother, and artist while waiting to see if anyone is held accountable for what happened. The Dallas police presence at the hospital during those 4 days showed they were taking the situation seriously. Whether that translates into arrests and charges remains to be seen as the investigation unfolds. The timing of everything makes this tragedy even more difficult to process. Z had just signed with Freebandz 5 months earlier. He was in the middle of planning his rollout strategy. According to people close to him, conversations were happening about his next moves, potential collaborations, and how to maximize the Freebandz platform. He was performing at what should have been a celebratory grand opening event, surrounded by friends, fellow artists, and supporters. Hours later, he was fighting for his life in a hospital bed. The silence from Future and Freebandz raises questions about label responsibility when tragedy strikes. In the music industry, labels typically release statements immediately when something happens to their artists. They post tributes on social media, share condolences with families, and acknowledge the loss publicly. The fact that Freebandz has remained completely silent as of now is unusual and noticeable. Some might argue they're respecting the family's privacy or waiting for the right moment to speak. Others might see it as a lack of support for an artist they just brought into their roster. The relationship between artists and labels becomes particularly important in moments like this. Z signed to Freebandz believing in their support and their ability to help him reach the next level. He trusted that partnership. Now his family and community are left wondering if that support extends beyond the business side of music into moments of real tragedy and loss. The New Dallas movement now faces one of its biggest tests. The collective was founded specifically to promote peace and unity in a scene that had been hurt by conflicts and violence for too long. They organized community events, brought artists together, and tried to create a culture where Dallas rappers could succeed without the drama and danger that had plagued the scene. Z was a visible part of that effort. He represented what the movement was trying to accomplish: young, talented, positive, community-focused, and ascending in his career while staying true to those values. Losing him in an incident that represents exactly what they've been fighting against puts the entire movement at a crossroads. Do they continue pushing the same message of peace and unity even after losing one of their own? Do they intensify their efforts in Z's memory? Or does this tragedy make it harder to maintain hope that things can actually change in Dallas hip-hop? The response from the New Dallas collective in the coming weeks and months will be crucial. How they honor Z's memory, whether they can maintain their message of positivity, and if they can keep bringing people together despite this setback, will define what the movement becomes moving forward. Z believed in what they were building. The question is whether that belief can survive the very thing he was trying to help prevent. For Pink House Dallas, the path forward is incredibly complicated. They opened their doors for a grand opening celebration that was supposed to establish them in the Dallas nightlife scene. Instead, their launch night became a tragedy that resulted in 5 people hurt and 1 death. The venue stated they're cooperating with the investigation, but the reality is that this incident will define their reputation for a long time. Other after-hours venues in Dallas are watching closely to see what emerges from this situation. Were there security failures? Were there capacity issues? Was the venue venue properly prepared for the size and profile of the event they were hosting? These questions matter not just for Pink House Dallas, but for every venue operating in similar spaces across the city. If changes come out of this investigation, whether through policy, regulation, or industry standards, other venues will need to adapt. The after-hours club scene exists in a unique space. These venues cater to crowds that want to keep celebrating after regular clubs close. They attract younger demographics, hip-hop artists, and people looking for that late-night energy. But operating in that space comes with specific challenges around security, crowd management, and preventing the kinds of situations that can escalate quickly when large groups are together in the early morning hours. What happened at Pink House Dallas on New Year's morning raises fundamental questions about whether current security measures at these venues are adequate. Multiple artists were present. The crowd was significant. It was a grand opening with heavy promotion. Yet something happened in the parking lot that security couldn't prevent or stop before it became tragic. That reality has to force conversations about what more can be done to protect artists and attendees at these events. For other young artists in Dallas watching this unfold, the lesson is sobering. Success doesn't protect you. Talent doesn't protect you. Being part of a positive movement doesn't protect you. Z was doing everything right, and it still wasn't enough to prevent what happened. That's a difficult reality to internalize while trying to pursue your own career in the same city and scene. The vulnerability that young artists face, particularly in cities with histories of violence and conflict in the hip-hop scene, is real. They're often performing at venues and events where security might not be adequate. They're celebrating success in public spaces where anything can happen. They're moving through environments where past conflicts, rivalries, or random violence can intersect with their lives at any moment. Z's story is a reminder of how quickly things can change and how fragile success really is. What makes this particularly painful for the Dallas scene is the pattern. MO3 passed away in 2020. Other artists have been lost over the years. Each time, the community mourns, reflects, and tries to move forward. But the losses keep happening. At some point, reflection has to turn into action. The question is what that action looks like and whether the community has the will and resources to make meaningful changes that actually protect young artists trying to build careers. Beyond Dallas, the broader hip-hop community is watching this situation unfold. Z's story resonates because it's not unique to one city or one scene. Young rappers across the country face similar vulnerabilities. They're building careers in environments where success can attract danger. They're performing at venues where security might be inadequate. They're navigating scenes where conflicts from the past can resurface at any moment. The conversation about how the hip-hop industry protects its young artists needs to happen at every level. Labels need to think about what support they provide beyond just marketing and distribution. Venues need to think about security measures that actually work. Artists need to think about the environments they're putting themselves in and whether the risks are worth it. And communities need to think about how they can create safer spaces for artists to succeed without constantly looking over their shoulders. Z's family will never get him back. The Dallas community has lost another young artist with massive potential. The new Dallas movement has to figure out how to continue after losing one of their own. And the broader hip-hop world has another story of talent cut short before it could fully bloom. These are the realities that sit heavy in the aftermath of what happened on New Year's morning at Pink House Dallas. Now I want to hear from you. What do you think about this whole situation? Does the Dallas hip-hop community need to have harder conversations about venue safety and after-hours events? Should Future and Freebandz speak publicly about losing Z? Or is staying quiet the right move? How does the new Dallas movement keep pushing their message after losing one of their members? Drop all your thoughts in the comments below. If this breakdown gave you the full story on what happened to Zeethewizard and kept it real from start to finish, smash that subscribe button. Hit the notification bell too so you don't miss any updates on this situation as more information comes out. Share this video with anyone who's been following this situation or anyone who needs to understand what really went down. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.